Hey guys, Sydni Brae Gwinn, and we are back in my detail shop today. It's a new year, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about how to start a detailing business in 2026. In today's video, we're going to be talking about your business plan, your marketing strategy, what services you want to provide. Then I'm going to give you some quick tips and tricks to starting a business. And finally, the things that I would have changed if I could do them over again. So grab a notebook, sit back and relax, and enjoy the video. When figuring out what you're gonna do for your detail business, you want to choose a name. The name is pretty important. This is one thing that I did wrong. I didn't think how important my name would be. So you definitely want a name that really helps identify you and sounds interesting to customers, and something that also sets you apart from other detail businesses in your area. So you don't want to just be like your last name and detailing. Nowadays, they want something kind of fun and interesting that describes the type of detailing you do. Next, you want to make sure that you get all of your paperwork and everything in order. So you need a business phone if you don't already have one. It is okay to use your personal phone, but I will say as your business grows, you're going to regret not having a business phone. You need all the appropriate paperwork. So you want to make sure you have any licenses, any documents that your state requires you to have. You want to have all of that in place before you start your business. And then insurance is super important. You need to have insurance no matter what. It's called garage keepers insurance for most of us that are working out of home shops. Even in small shops, it's still called garage keepers. That's going to cover things that maybe you damage from your tools or a ladder falling, things like that. And then you also want to know the limits of your insurance. So make sure you follow up with your insurance provider on what things are covered. For instance, a lot of things are not covered, like removing wheels and tires, removing seats. So you want to make sure you have all the bases covered in your paperwork. And then lastly, under this section, I think it's really important to identify your market. Are you looking for, the basic details? Are you looking for the mom vehicles, dirty minivans? Like, is that the market you want to tap into? Do you want to tap into RVs? Do you want to tap into boats? For me, it was that I wanted to work on family cars. I wanted to be able to provide that service to other moms like me. Over the years, my business has transitioned into a different clientele, but you want to know your market. Who are you going after? That will help identify how you tap into your market. Number 2 is marketing. So this is a really big area that is going to set you up for success. You want to figure out exactly how you're going to market. You want to figure out what your budget is. So let's talk about budget. So when I started my business, I didn't have the money in my budget to do marketing. So identify the areas that you can do marketing for cheap and or with your own self. Like I said, social media, most of it's free. My recommendation is always get into those community pages and interact with people so that they recognize your name. That way, when you post your business details, they recognize your name as a real person and not just somebody trying to get business. Another way that you can use your social media is obviously with local car communities, car clubs. You can usually talk to the organizer, set up a small booth, or set up a car and have like a little A-frame sign. There's a lot of marketing that you can do for really cheap. So don't just go spend a ton of money on digital marketing or ads or anything like that. So again, you need to have your phone, your email, your website all set up. If you choose to do a website, you don't necessarily need one. And then the biggest one is have your social media set up. This is basically free marketing. So you really want to make use of your social media. I always say it's a good idea to set these up before you actually go live. I know a lot of us start by detailing maybe our friends, families, cars, and you can take that footage and start your social media so that you have something to direct people to right away and start getting your name out in the community. So don't wait on setting up your social media. As far as websites go, I think that nowadays they're not that necessary unless you live in an area where a lot of detailers use websites to advertise. That's where you need to know the market you live in. What kinds of things do you have to do? For me, I've never had a website and I've been in business for 14 years. I chose to take the approach on my marketing of doing a referral-based only business, which has been great. For me, I didn't need a website because I don't want all the random phone calls, price checking, all of that kind of stuff. So I kind of set it up from that way in the beginning, but that does take a little bit longer to get traction. So keep that in mind as well. In your area, you may need those cold calls to get your business started, and that is okay. And then let's talk about branding. So when you're developing your plan for your business, make sure that you really pay attention to your branding. Don't use the cheap logos off the internet. Try to develop something that really truly speaks to you, matches with you and your vibe. So don't use like the car outline that everybody uses. Have something that is truly branded to you and something that's identifiable as well. In 2026, I can't stress how important this is to have the customer experience. This has probably been the one win in my business that I would put at the top of the list, is just really providing that customer experience and the branding, the whole experience. Also under marketing, we're gonna have to talk about content. This is a big place that people forget. Take the pictures. Take the pictures, the before, the after, the during. Have ways to film yourself. Now when we're detailing, we've really had to shift into this. We all have tripods, we all have microphones, and you have to have them now. That is what gets the word out, and that is what people, again, kind of goes back to that free marketing. Document your journey, document the vehicles for your customers. They love it. So you always have to remember to take those before and after pictures, take the during pictures. I promise it will pay off in the end. Another thing when creating content is keep in mind the bigger picture. Of course, you're building your business locally, and that's great, but there's always opportunities when growing your business. So we can talk things on national level, like brands. When you collaborate with, say, the rag company that helps highlight detailers, and also the detailers highlight the rag company. So it's a great collaboration effort, but think also on your local level. Real estate agents or restaurants or things like that. It really helps get your business name out there locally, which is gonna bring you business. All right, so now we've got our plan and our marketing in place. Now we have to figure out, what are we gonna do? This is where you need to identify the services that you wanna provide. I will advise you guys, don't just jump into everything. Like, have it very specific, very narrow, especially when you're first starting out. You need to sit down while doing your plan and figure out what services you want to provide initially. This does not mean that you can't grow in the future. I do advise you to try to keep it simple in the beginning because of a couple things. We need to have standard operating procedures. That is where you're gonna make lists of the procedures you're gonna do. You can also use those as checklists. Over time, once I really got my standard operating procedures down, they became checklists. The biggest time suck is not being on track, not knowing what you're doing, and that costs you money, right? Because now you're running a business where you are determining your pay. So keep that in mind. What I recommend is identify what areas you struggle with. And then I really recommend getting training in that area. Now, when you're first starting your business, it's a little bit difficult to find training locally near you and have the money to invest in that. There is a ton of great information out on YouTube. We try to provide that information for you guys. Just make sure that you are watching trusted sources. As much good information is out there, there's also bad information. Don't feel like you have to provide every service. When you're first starting out, maybe all you do is express services, and that's totally great. As far as exteriors, are you going to start out just doing washes? Are you going to add in the wash clay seal, which I highly recommend for people just starting out their business? It's such a great moneymaker, and it's so easy, you can't mess it up. If you're gonna start into paint correction, this is where you're gonna need to get real in-person training. This is an area that can be very risky for you as a new business owner. You can cause damage with the polisher. We see all these videos and we see people on the internet and it looks so crazy, but it's actually pretty technical. It is an artist's skill. And then last under the processes is you just need to identify the tools that you need. On the internet, you're gonna see these great shops that have all these tools. I didn't have this all when I began. This was collected over the years and invested in. So going back to your SOPs and what services you want to provide is going to tell you what tools you need to invest in immediately to be able to start providing that good service for your customers. So if you're just doing interiors, you want to focus on a good vacuum. If you buy a cheap vacuum and it takes you an hour and a half to vacuum a car versus if you had a good vacuum and it only takes you 30 minutes, you have to determine what that 1 hour of your time was worth. And it's probably as much as the difference in the vacuum, but that's only one appointment. So then times that over time, it's not worth it to buy certain items that are cheap. So you want to identify all the tools you need and then which ones can you be budget friendly on and which ones do you need to think about time as money. You want to figure out your services and determine what products you need, which I don't want to spend the time going into that right now. You can go back and watch all of our old videos on certain processes and we lay it out for you what tools you need. So then likewise on the exterior, if you're just starting out doing exteriors, mainly focus on all of your wash equipment. So you need buckets, all the sponges, the soaps, all that stuff to go along with it. Most stuff you're going to be fine, using what you have or what you can get easily. The one thing that I would not cheap out on would be your microfiber material. So you want to have a good wash media, whether whether that's a sponge or a mitt. And that is because we don't want to leave scratches on the car. I also recommend using high quality chemicals. I wouldn't necessarily use something that's, super cheap, but there's lots of budget friendly chemical companies out there. So just do your research on those, but make sure you're using ones that are recommended for the service that you're providing. Another area that I would not cheap out on, honestly, is brushes. When I first started, this was a big mistake where I would buy, the cheap brushes that would work, on 3 cars and then they'd be dead. And what I've learned over the years is that when you have something that's like physical like that, I want something that's not gonna break down on me. I break everything down price per use. So if I have good brushes that I'm gonna be able to wash 50, 60, 70 cars with, it's a better investment to buy a good brush versus a cheap brush that may scratch wheels, may scratch the surface of the car. So that is one area that I don't cheap out on, is brushes. But things like your buckets, you can totally buy the cheap ones. So next, I'm big into tips. So tips on efficiency and tips on making your business run smoothly and being profitable. I am super into efficiency, knowing your worth, and making the most amount of money I can in a short amount of time and providing the best product and delivery to my customers. For me, when I started my business, I had to know who was around me and what was the market there. Obviously, I started with, a lot of stay-at-home moms, people that worked from home. That was something that I could market and say that I could pick their car up while they were out of town, bring it to my house, detail it, redeliver it for them. That was a huge service, and it was a market that I tapped into that kept me really busy. And then know your worth. Obviously, when you're first starting out, don't ask a detail shop that's been running for 20 years what they charge, because you need to charge appropriately for the skill level that you're at. As you grow your business and you become better at your craft, that's when you raise your prices. As long as you know your worth and you're always on point in your area, that is gonna be what is gonna help you be successful in your area for sure. Another big tip that I have, and I cannot stress this enough, is customer education. All too often I see detailers and they just give the car back and they don't really tell their customer anything about their car. I like to always walk around at the beginning of the detail. I walk through the car with the customer, identify anything that looks a little bit crazy. If a tail light's broken or if there's a rip in the seat, I kind of identify that with them. This just helps kind of establish that you are aware of what's going on. But I also like this because it helps identify with the customer what areas are important to them and kind of get from the customer, what are your areas of concern? Then you can focus more on those areas, which is going to lead to customer satisfaction. When I do the walk around at the end of the appointment, I'm letting them know how it went, how the day went, what I found that was of concern, and what our schedule forward needs to be. If I have a mom come in that has 3 kids and the car was just trashed and it took me 4 times longer than it should, I'm gonna let her know, like, hey, you're in this grind of years with these kids, and what would be most ideal for your car to maintain the vehicle's integrity and not break down the surfaces, I'll let the customer know, I really recommend you coming in every 6 months, maybe it's every year, maybe if it's an older couple without kids, I say, you're fine at coming in 18 months. But I always am very honest and heartfelt with the customer. I never try to oversell them, so I don't tell every customer they need to come in every 6 months. I literally tailor it to them, the education. So it gives you opportunity to talk about the other services that you provide. So never skip the education. And the biggest reason for this is because this is what keeps them coming back. You instantly become their person that knows everything about their car. That provides so much value, and it makes customers that will keep coming back for years. My next tip is have software. So definitely this was an area that I did not take advantage of for a long time. Right away, invest in software. This is gonna help you set up your customers, set up your services, set up your checklists. It helps keep you organized. It also shows your customers that you're a legitimate business, because now they're getting a text message from your software telling them that they've been scheduled. It helps you send reminders. It helps you send follow-up reminders. All of my ceramic customers in almost a year get an email or a text message telling them that their car is due for service. Definitely set that up from the beginning, because it's hard to go back and enter everything. So just right from the beginning, set up a software. And then we talked a little bit about this, but just organization and checklist. Find what works for you on your checklist. I always tell everybody, detail every single car in the exact same order, because then you never forget anything. And then just be organized. So figure out tools that help you stay organized. This is the way that when do you need to wash towels? When do you need to wash your pads? When do you need to replace things? So have a lot of organization. The customers see this, and that that adds value to you and the price that you're charging them. When they see that everything is nice and tidy and tight and that you're using good stuff, good towels, good brushes, it adds value to you. But it also keeps your stress level down if you're organized. Lastly, let's cover the things that I wish that I would have done differently. The first thing would be, we kind of talked a little bit about this, but using cheap, inferior tools. I actually caused a lot of physical damage to myself by using cheap polishers in the beginning because they had so much vibration and it caused a lot of nerve damage. Keep in mind things like using stools and, roller carts for washing wheels. Like, have things that you're not causing unnecessary damage to your body because you're trying to save a buck, because it actually ends up costing you a ton later. Trust me on that. The second one would be charging your worth. I swear I used to just give away details. I didn't make any money. It's actually surprising that I survived, but I did. If you have a set price for your interior detail and it ends up being a disaster detail, don't be afraid to charge the customer for that. Put yourself in the customer's shoes. If somebody comes in and they have massive dog hair or stains, charge for that. Charge your worth. Don't give away your time and effort. This is important. If you are starting a business, it's because you believe in yourself. So know your worth. You're in charge of your paycheck. So make sure you're charging your worth and stick to that. And then the next one was know who you're learning from. When I started my career, YouTube was very new. There was really only 1 or 2 places that I could follow. And they got me through. Now in 2026, we have such a plethora of information out there and good people that are sharing their information. Make sure that you're using that. Like, for me personally, this is why I'm sitting here. I want to help everybody. That goes for trainings as well. If you go, I think trainings in person are great, but make sure who you're learning from. It'll just save you time later, I promise. Another big mistake that I made when I first started was I relied on the warranty or the claims that came from the products that I was using. I think that that probably set me back a little bit, because if you think about it, the customers don't care what products you're using. They want to know that you're doing everything you can within your power to take the best care of their vehicle. Over the years, I learned that it just didn't matter what the warranty claims or the product claims were by the companies that I was using. What became important to me was making sure that I was using good products that weren't going to damage the customer's vehicle, that there was nothing I was going to have to go back and fix. I really try to tailor everything to their car. So whether that be a leather protectant or a coating, I tailor it to their car. I say, you park outside, you do this, you run a farm, this may only last you this time. That sets them up for success, and it sets me up for success. It makes me look like I know what I'm talking about, and there's nothing that is gonna let them down. This was probably the most humbling thing for me, to realize that my customers don't care what products I use. I choose the products for me. I wanna make sure I'm delivering the highest level of quality, the best finish for them that they are going to enjoy, because I'm the warranty. If something goes wrong, they're only gonna look at me. And then lastly, you have to document your journey. I did not document my journey. When you start a business, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not gonna be easy. That was the thing for me, was I got so wrapped up in what I was doing that I didn't take pictures of my first setup. I didn't take pictures of me working in a slanted driveway with a tree hanging over me, outside in the elements. I don't have any documentation of that. And I would give anything to be able to look back at that and see where I started and where I am now. I wish I had all of that, because it reminds me of how hard I worked to get to where I am. So that is my biggest regret, is not documenting my journey. I hope you found these tips helpful if you are looking at starting a detailing business in 2026. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below and I will absolutely respond. Make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos like this right here at The Rag Company.